Now we're here today to honour the memory of Brigadier Commandant Sean Finn of Rathkeil in County Limerick, who was a member of the West Limerick Brigade of the IRA, killed in an engagement with British troops at Ballyhahill in County Limerick on the 30th of March 1921, aged only 22 years. I think the script at the base of this wonderful monument depicts the great heroic character of the late Sean Finn. He gave to Ireland's cause his all, his heart's best love, his service high, to break her chain, to end her thrall. He gave his life without a sigh. Billy, President of the IRB, good to have you with us. You're holding a tricolour, but there a little bit of history about that, please.
Yes, well, Thomas Francis Meagher brought in the tricolour, and it was orange, white and green. And the Irish Republican Brotherhood, they changed it to green, white and orange. The green is nearest the pole. And James Stephens, he was buried with that wrapped around his coffin in 1901.
In 1901.
I hope I'm right with that, 1901 off the top of my head. But it is so important that we understand where it comes from and what it's about. And you know, people should respect their tricolour flag and how difficult it was. And what a lovely flag it is. You know, that Sean, he would have been, that would have been his whole life. And there are buttons on the 8 strings IV. I carry those as well.
Yes.
You know, our sovereign seals. And that's what they gave their lives, to put that up for a Dáil Éireann. And the 1918 32 county election is what established the sovereignty of the 32 counties and the democratically elected TDs to Dáil Éireann. And they all give their oath of allegiance to the state, the Sovereign Republic of Éire, the Sovereign Dáil Éireann government, the Sovereign Dáil Éireann courts and the Wall of Independence as a defence force, and be accountable to the sovereign people.
Yes.
If you read the proclamation, which you're going to do now, and it's so important that we know that on the 14th of December 1918, Britain called the 1918 32 county election. You never hear it mentioned today, and that's what established on the 28th of December. We had 73 seats out of the 105. That's the mandate, the Irish and Fenian Republican Brotherhood. And it was IRB Sinn Féin, that's the political wing of the IRB, and Ógla na HÉireann, the IRA, that's the military wing.
Yes.
And we need to know where our sovereignty, because in Europe and other, you have to have sovereignty. And
Yes.
your passport, this is what it comes from. And that makes it everything legitimate and sovereign. We are a sovereign nation, and the sovereignty comes from God, whereas the corporations and that are only man-made. And as we know, Britain doesn't have sovereignty, it has royalty, and that's since 1155. And Henry VIII, since then, he turned the monarchy into a corporation, which it is today. Corporations don't care about anything, only money and profit.
Oh, we know that.
And,
yes.
and we're seeing the results of it today.
Yes.
But here we have the tricolour flag, we have the sovereign seals, we have the harps.
Yes.
And they're all part of man's intellect and reason and his 5 senses. And that's why it's so important that we know where they're coming from and why they gave their lives on that day. So I lay the wreath, John.
Please, yes, that's fine. This is the Easter lily.
It's green, white and orange.
Yes.
And we've just said here, look, green, white and orange.
And orange, yes.
And that's where it comes from. And it's the lily of the Nile, you see it there. But this time of the year, they're very young.
Yes.
So it's small. But there you are. And that's, if you put the sovereign seal with air underneath it, that's what they gave their lives for. 8 strings IV. And I'll show you how you do it. So you want to read the proclamation?
And you know, I do think, I'm not a historian, but when I'll be talking to the wonderful connections of Sean Finn The one thing that actually strikes us all is all of the men and women of 1916 and beyond, they were so young.
That's true.
I mean, they were in their early 20s, mid 30s, early 40s, and there was no problem with their card. Now, would you like to lay the wreath as well? This is you're Elise and you're Marguerite Finn.
Yes.
Lovely.
No, I'm not. I'm
I know.
No, but I am the daughter of Rita Finn.
Right, lovely.
And I'm Sean's grandniece, Chiana Murphy Gallybunny.
Lovely. Very good. I think this is a lovely occasion and a great respect to a great hero of our country, Sean Finn. Wonderful.
Yeah, that's wonderful, yeah.
I'll have to tap you for that. It is wonderful that you're doing
It is, yes.
Oh, look.
Mr. Lily. They're very young. It's
Mr.
just
Lily,
kind
isn't
of
that
weird.
lovely?
It's the green, white and orange.
Yeah.
And that's why it comes from that.
Yeah, and
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear.
I put her little message on.
Falling out all morning.
But
We put our little message on it. Just
we never could have planned this better to have such great people here with us today.
no, because of COVID, we knew, because I remember as a child coming down to Rathkeale
Yes,
every Easter Sunday.
yes.
And it used to annoy me because I was a girl, I wasn't allowed in the march, only the boys.
All right, yes.
And so COVID, and I thought, I can't let this go, I must mark it in some way. And I said, I'll come down quietly, put my wreath, say a few prayers and go.
Right.
I didn't expect to find out you.
John, you read the proclamation.
I certainly will, with great honour and respect.
I hold the tricolour and I have to.
Yes. Now, Billy Maguire and the very good people with us here today have asked me to read the proclamation of Public Naherin, which indeed I'm very proud to, and as I've done before. And this is in not only in memory of a great man, Sean Finn, but also of all the great men and women down through our very bloodied history, turbulent history, over hundreds of years, that gave their lives pre-famine, post-famine, and that made this country the great country that it is, where we have the freedom of speech and the freedom to go march and the freedom to actually object to different things that are happening in this country even today. None of this would have happened only for the sacrifice of Sean Finn and all of his comrades
All those
across the
volunteers,
26
they
countries.
all gave their lives for this.
All gave their lives.
And we should appreciate it.
So if you can bear with me, and thank you, Billy and the RB, for asking me to read this. The Proclamation of Public Naherin, the Sovereign Government of Ireland, to the sovereign citizens of Éire, Irish men and Irish women, in the name of God and the generations from which she receives her old tradition of nationhood, we, the sovereign citizens, confirm our allegiance to the 1916 Proclamation, the 1916 Rising, the implementation of the Sovereign Republic of Éire, exactly and verbatim as defined in the 1916 Proclamation, our sovereignty, the 32 county election from GHQ Vaughan's Hotel in 1918 that established the sovereignty of the 32 counties, and democratically elected TDs to Dáil Éireann on the 21st of January 1919 in the Mansion House, Dublin. All Irish people became sovereign citizens and Ireland became the Sovereign Republic of Éire. Dáil Éireann and the Dáil Éireann courts, 4 courts, became sovereign. To uphold the right of the sovereign constitution of the first and the second Dáil Éireann, the Trinity was placed on behalf of the Irish Republican Brotherhood and Óglaigh na hÉireann in the Cabinet Room in the Mansion House, Dublin, at 12 noon. The Sovereign Seal, 12 strings, AD 1919, the Ogham pole with the tricolour and the harp of the sorcery, 12 strings, BC. The state became the Sovereign Republic of Éire on the 21st of January 1919. The Trinity and the proclamation to be elevated and placed on all government and public buildings. We place the cause of the Sovereign Republic of Éire under the protection of the Most High God, whose blessing we invoke and pray that no one who serves that cause will dishonour it by cowardice, inhumanity and rapine. Signed and sealed under the sovereign seal of the Sovereign Republic of Éire, William James Maguire, President of the Sovereign Republic of Éire, Keeper of the Sovereign Seals and Harps of the Sovereign Republic of Éire. Gora Míle Magat.
Thank you, John. Proclamation.
Now, I think Billy would like me to read a proclamation, would you? Because, of course, this is where, not being a historian, but being amongst great people here today, this